This week, large print confusion looms in the wake of a proposed Pennsylvania bill. A House divided, Yahoo Finance reports that one spouse believes that reverse mortgages are a scam, but her retired CFO husband thinks otherwise. And a former Chicago area reverse mortgage originator is sentenced. Stay tuned for these stories and more in this week's special news roundup right after the short message from our sponsor.
Liberty Reverse wants to help you grow your reverse mortgage business with our proprietary Equity IQ product suite. Equity IQ gives your borrowers access to more funds, lowers their upfront costs, and expands eligibility for home purchases. Learn more at partners.libertyreversemortgage.com today. This ad is intended for mortgage professionals only and is not a consumer solicitation. PHH Mortgage, doing business as Liberty Reverse Mortgage, is an equal housing lender. NRMLA number 2726.
Welcome back and thank you for joining us. Any of our middle-aged viewers and older viewers watching can attest to the challenges of reading the small print in a contract or even a simple product label. I certainly can. Now, with the average HECM application package with disclosures averaging 200 to 300 pages, font size does matter. And that was an issue a proposed bill that was sponsored by the Pennsylvania House seeks to address in House Bill 1882. It would require a minimum font size of 16 points. And while perhaps well-intentioned, NRMLA did submit a letter to the bill's sponsors and sought clarification for which contracts and disclosures would fall under the new font size requirement. NRMLA warns that requiring federally mandated documents such as the GFE or good faith estimate and the HUD-1 settlement statement to be printed on a 16-point font would create compliance issues because these forms are generated by the federal government and they cannot be reformatted by any lender. Also, there's a concern that the bill's wording does leave it very unclear whether the internal lender processing and underwriting documents in a loan package would be included under that requirement. NRMLA advises to spell out exactly which documents would be covered by the bill, a simple step that could help lawmakers sidestep the unintended consequences they so often manage to create. Daryl Hicks, VP of Communications for NRMLA, put it this way. NRMLA requested that the bill be revised only to increase the font size of the reverse mortgage note, loan agreement, security instrument, and the Pennsylvania disclosures. It's not uncommon for couples to have differing opinions when it comes to making financial decisions, such as to get a reverse mortgage or not, and that is the case with one couple. Yahoo Finance reports, according to one Reddit post, a spouse sees a reverse mortgage as a predatory scam, while her husband, a retired CFO, views it as a practical way to access $100,000 for home improvements and a more comfortable retirement. So that's the divide in that house. Now that scenario, it underscores a common challenge that we face in our industry. We have strong misconceptions on one side and also strong financial logic on the other, and a gap of understanding that we must bridge. My husband is sucked in and is really pushing hard to do it, she wrote. Both are 72 in a secure financial position and also have ample income, but the column does point to one specific concern, and that is the consumption of equity. I can't stop envisioning a lien eating away equity with terms that could force the instant sale of the house for some ridiculous lowball amount to edify the payoff, she wrote. What she doesn't understand is that the only thing that would trigger the sale of the home is if they violated the terms of the loan for the reverse mortgage, not a growing loan balance. However, she does rightfully mention other concerns, such as the risk of an unforeseen medical event that could lead to them moving out of the home, and that would make the loan due and payable. In any industry, you can find bad actors, and sadly, such is the case with one former loan originator. Gary Bone, age 59, has been sentenced to 18 months in prison for his involvement in a large-scale reverse mortgage fraud in the Chicago area. Along with his co-conspirators, including the ringleader, Mark Stephen Diamond, who we reported on, who received a 17-year sentence. Bone helped defraud elderly African-American homeowners in the Chicago area out of millions of dollars. That began around 2006. The scheme involved convincing the homeowner that their property needed extensive repairs, and then they secured a reverse mortgage on the property, but they diverted the loan proceeds, yes, you can guess it, to themselves instead of for the repair work. Bone also facilitated the submission of mortgage documents on a fraudulent basis to lenders on Diamond's behalf because Diamond was unlicensed to originate mortgages at that time. Also, in one maneuver, Bone advised his co-conspirators on how they could circumvent limits that were set up by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, on reverse mortgage payouts of loan proceeds by exploiting mechanics liens. Now, cooperation apparently does have its benefits, though. The court noted that while the prosecutors had sought a 28-month sentence, Bone received a lighter term in part because he cooperated with investigators and authorities and also recorded his conversations with his co-conspirators. His license as a mortgage originator in Illinois was revoked after he reportedly pled guilty in 2017. However, after doing some investigation, I found that he actually entered his plea in January 9th, 2024, in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois, and that appears to me to be a more plausible timeline. And that is a wrap of this week's News Roundup. We haven't had one in a while. So what are your thoughts on these stories? I'd be curious. Let me know in the comment section below. If you'd be so kind as to share this video on LinkedIn, we thank you in advance. Don't forget we have a YouTube channel. We mention it every week. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way when we have any episode for any of our shows, you're one of the first people to know. And if you'd like to catch up on reverse mortgage news the easy way, you can do that by listening or watching in our weekly podcast, Peckham World Weekly. Listeners can listen and subscribe on Apple Music and Spotify or Podbean, and we curate some interesting stories, so be sure to check it out. We'll see you next week here at Peckham World for more reverse mortgage news, commentary, and analysis. Have a great week.